All right, stops editor. All right, so what is a T-bus stop? It's equivalent to a regularly scheduled on-street bus stop, bus bay, or rail stop. Each stop is unique to a route pattern, which means that there can be multiple pattern stops layered at a location. So I think we saw this earlier with the Oaks Mall example, where we had two stops that were the same stop name, stop ID, but they were on different patterns. So they're sitting on top of each other, but they hold the same characteristics, basically, but they're on different patterns. So that way you can delete a stop on a particular pattern without deleting all stops that serve that location. Okay. All right, so basically the setup is, now we're going to talk about, we've talked about service patterns and alignments and segments. Now we're going to talk about the stops and how to digitize and create those. So again, we're going to use the network editing toolbar, and we have tools in TBEST to add a, add a stop tool. So it adds individual stops to the map at wherever you click. You can generate stops at intervals along a route pattern or segment. You can move stops. So if you select a single stop, you click and it's selected, you click and hold and drag it, you can move it to another location that's on the same route pattern. And of course, you can delete stops. All right, so some stop digitizing behavior. Digitized stops are automatically placed sequentially along the route pattern. So TBEST, whenever you're digitizing stops, it knows its location along the pattern. It knows the stop that precedes it and the stop that comes after. So it's able to place it in sequence along the route pattern, which corresponds to how the GTFS does it, how we would want it as part of a network. For stops placed at overlapping route segments, TBEST will prompt the user for the insert distance along the route. Okay, so most everyone knows that, you know, in transit network editing, you can have all kinds of crazy alignments and paths that routes will take, and including where it double backs on itself, so that you have a location that is actually two distances along the route, right? So if you come across one of those in TBEST where there is an overlap and it double backs on itself, they will ask you for the distance from the beginning of the route so that you can actually add two stop locations, one at one distance, one at another distance, but at the same location, if that makes sense. So that's how TBEST handles that overlapping and double backing, you know, segments and alignments. Users' digitized stops must be placed within 200 feet of a route segment. Stop-to-stop travel time is automatically calculated by TBEST based on the segment speed and network distance from the previous stop. All right, so we've talked about the stop attributes already, so I'm not going to go into detail, but of course you can editable, all these where it says editable, you can change the values for them inside of the stops panel. All right, so we haven't looked at the definitions specifically for special generators and then the amenities that are available. So this is a reference for you to you know, basically determine where you would place these special generators and amenities at particular stop locations. So amenities as the definitions are included primarily for asset inventory, Title VI mapping, and estimation results evaluation, whereas special generators are location flags to identify additional trip generation at specific stops, and not all generators are sensitive in the TBEST ridership estimation model. So only some of these will be sensitive. And if you wanted to look up which ones are, you can actually go to the model, TBEST land use model that's listed, and you can look at the equation coefficients, and it will show you which ones are sensitive in the TBEST model. All right, so other stop attributes, we mentioned this already, where you can switch the view. You can show time period attributes and socioeconomic attributes here. And we mentioned too that when you do show the stop socioeconomic attributes, You can change them, right? So we mentioned that you can override these values. These are the values that the T-Best model calculates. Whenever you run the T-Best model, it's going to assess the walk access population and employment and households, et cetera, at that location. But these are editable to you. You can override these values, and using the calculator or just entering numbers in that you know that are the actual markets or the potential markets there. Okay. So the T-Best stop calculator I mentioned, you can do cell editing. You can also do the T-Best stop calculator to calculate values for the total population, households, et cetera, right? So whatever you would select in the list, you can calculate the values for it using the calculator, the stop calculator. So here's an example of that. This is, I think this is actually Chariots, if I'm not mistaken, out in Oregon. They have Route 1X that has not just one generator amenity, but multiple amenities that you can calculate those. You can also see in the calculator that you have the total population and households, so you can set that value plus or minus % of the current value, or you can directly enter it into the cells. So it's up to you how you would edit these, but basically this calculator really helps you, fully code all of your network plus adjust the local population and employment values. Okay, so let's do some stop editing here as an exercise. All right, and again, if you want to follow me along with me or dive into get direct help with Sam, you can certainly do that. All right. So if we go to our section 4.5 stops editor, so we're going to refine the 88 alignment add stops to the Western route, Western loop. So if not already open the TDP 2035 constraint plan. In the routes panel, double click on Route 88 westbound. So I'm going to do that. Double click on it. That will zoom to it. And so this is our 88 westbound. Now yours is going to look a little different probably. Maybe you did or didn't put this little loop in it, but we're going to roll with this loop. All right, so we're going to go to the stops panel and set the view mode to all stops. So I'm going to click down here where it says view all stops, and then all the stops in the network will be visible. All right, so click on the scenario map, okay, so on the network editing toolbar, click the add stop tool. Click on the scenario map to add new stops at the westbound route pattern begin point, the stadium, and at the end point. So what we want to do is zoom in first here, and then we're going to use our interactively add stops on our active route pattern. So what you'll see here is that there are stops that exist on this patterns or in this location, but T-Best didn't pick them up. And that's because that at the beginning of a route, when you're digitizing it, it's not exactly always certain that these stops will be at the beginning, because you might have stops up here or over here. So what T-Best does is allows you to define the very beginning stops and the end stops. So that's really why we're doing this. So what I will do is I will click on this stop on the right-hand side, and that will add a stop on my route pattern. It automatically added this 966 at Weimer Hall. And it gave it the University Special Generator because that is what existed at that location already on a stop that was already in the network. So that is really what we wanted, right? We wanted to add a stop at the beginning of the route. Now we see that it, we shouldn't start exactly right here. So here's where we could use our split tool. We could split that right here and then delete this little segment so that it lines up directly with where we want it to line up for the beginning of the route. So that's something we could do. I could basically select this segment and use our split tool. We could split right here. And then we could just delete this little segment. And now our begin point is right here, and that's really what we wanted. All right, so that's our begin stop. Now we want to zoom over to our ending location at the elementary school and add a stop right here. So here's our stop. There is no existing stop, so I'm just going to add a stop right here at the end point. And that's good. All right. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm on where we're finding Route 8 alignment, adding stops to the western route. Step 6 now. Continue adding desired new stops to the manually along the western portion of the new route where no stops exist in the network. So if we zoom out a little bit and use our pan tool, come out here, basically we see from right here at Buckingham West, going westward and then down to the elementary school, there really aren't any stops here. So we want to add some. So we're going to just use our interactive stop add tool. And of course, we can do some research into where to place these stops. And of course, you can do that. One tool that we have at our disposal is we can right click and add show map coordinates. So this, if you do have exact locations where you want to add stops, it will help you add them at locations. And I'm just going to add some stops into the network and place them just kind of incrementally along. Pan down. And there's already a stop right here. Maybe I'll add one right here. So that looks good to me. That's not very dense in terms of population employment over here. It doesn't look very dense, so I'm just going to leave it as is and then hit save. Okay. Now, number 7, it says, if necessary to move a stop, change the stop view mode to active pattern. So I'm going to switch this from all stops to just the active pattern stops, and that'll take away just and show just the stops that we have. So I have this stop selected, so you can see it's selected in the list. Of course, I can select any location. I can also use my stop selector. I can just drag a box around a stop as well. And be careful with that because if you're selecting stops, you just want to have one selected at a time. You can only move a stop if one is selected. So you would come down here in this selected list or status, and you see 1 of 36 is visible and only 1 is selected, and that's on our active pattern. So then I can come over to this moves the selected stop. I can just click and hold on this location. I can pick it up and drag it to a new location and it will move it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that, and we're going to repeat that for the eastbound pattern. So if there are any stops that we need to add, actually this is filled in pretty well. Actually, we probably need to add a stop here at Childs Elementary School, so let's do that. So I have a stop at the begin point. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Add a stop right here at the begin point. And then we'll zoom back out, pan over, and add a stop at the end point over at the Griffin Stadium. So we'll just add a stop right here. We may want to show our existing stops, and maybe if we can pick up, maybe it will add the stop. We click on it. Yeah, so it picked up that, it's at Weimer Hall, right? So it just added it to it. Okay, I think that's good. Most all the other stops picked up on this alignment from the existing stops that are on the network, so I think we're in pretty good shape. So I'll just save that. And we can proceed to the stops editor. So we're going to use the stops selector to select all the stops at Child's Elementary School. So I'm going to zoom back out and pan over to Child's Elementary School. I want to make sure that my view mode is all stops, which it is right now. And I'm going to use the stop selector. So I'm going to select stops on the map, and I'm going to just drag over those stops at Child's Elementary School. And you can see there are two of 1,978 selected, but I just want to show the selected stops only. So these are the two stops I wanted to show. And now I want to use the calculator to calculate, first of all, that their description is Child's Elementary School. So I want to put that in and hit update. So that will add that to the description. And then we also want to set them as a special generator, a public school, sorry, an amenity, a public school amenity. So if I use this and I select public school and hit update, it will add that as an amenity at that stop. All right, and then we can save this and just want to verify at our other endpoint that everything is set to be a university stop. So we're going to come back over and show all stops again and use our stop selector tool to select all the stops here at the endpoint and then show only the selected ones. And we see that they're all at Weimer Hall. They're all University Special Generator. So that looks good to me.